Hey guys, Jeremy here. I know it's been a little while, but I just been busy at work and I just been doing a different focus on research. So today let's get into mental illness or misdiagnosed ability or spiritual attack. Let's think about this. Where do thoughts come from? Psychiatry don't know. Doctors don't know. Let me tell you what I think. Our thoughts are nothing more than an electrical impulse picked up by our brain. Alright, so I think thoughts originate in our spirit. And I also believe that there are entities out there who hijack our thoughts and feed off of the negative energy that they induce. Like, take for instance, when's the last time you was walking or sitting around or driving and all of a sudden this thought come in and you're like, whoa, where did that come from? That's not me. That's not how I think. And those are what I'm talking about. Not all of your thoughts are your own. For instance, I'm going to tell on myself. I was driving down the road the other day and somebody was tailgating me too close. And I thought, man, I'd love to stop and get out and yank them right out the car. But that's not really me. I'm not a violent person. So let's talk about the work of Dr. Jerry Marzinski. He is an author and has the YouTube channel Engineering Mental Sanity. He is a psychotherapist who's worked in a lot of the major prisons throughout the United States and specialized in schizophrenic patients. Now, he has come to the conclusion over many years of working with patients that the supposed hallucinations and voices that the schizophrenics are having are not their own, but from an external source. And he didn't always view it this way, though he always questioned the narrative from the medical establishment part of psychiatry, which he calls the psychiatric mafia, which, I agree. We always talk about how messed up the medical field is, but nobody really ever talks about the mental health aspect of it. And I find a lot of his work fascinating. He has come to the conclusion that these voices are parasitic entities who induce negative emotions which in fact feed them. And one of the ways he came to this conclusion is he had one patient, and there was this guy who was, he'd been suffering for years, and he had $200 in his pocket. The voices told him to fill up his tank with gas. Now, mind you, he lived in California. Alright, told him to fill up his tank with gas, buy 2 burlap sacks, and drive to Oregon. So he listened to the voices. So he gets to Oregon, following the directions turn by turn, and he gets to the end of this dirt road. So he's like, well, then what? So the voices say, take this trail over here and walk it. So he walks it about 4 hours, he says, and he comes across this big pot field. So the voices told him, cut the pot, fill up the burlap sacks, and we know where to go sell it. So he done what the voices said. He cut the plants, filled up his burlap sack, gets back to his car, and he's like, well, now what? So they give him directions to a park. Now, mind you, he's never been to none of these places. So he sells all the pot, buys drugs, prostitutes, alcohol, And one of the most interesting things is the voices wanted to go fishing. Yeah, I thought that was strange too, but so he takes them fishing, and the voices tell him where to cast and when to move, and he was the only one at the river that day catching fish. So this caught Dr. Merzinski's interest, so he started diving into it further, and he started noticing patterns with how all the voices worked throughout all of his patients. And, if it was just hallucinations, there would be no patterns. And, he finally got to the point to where he would, the doctors above him would tell him, don't question about the voices, don't validate the voices because you're just making them worse. Well, he finally decided to go against the grain, so he started, talking to his patients about the voices, and he found out that they didn't like anything religious. They especially did not like when you recited the 23rd Psalms. And I mean, if these were just hallucinations, why would religious and reading of biblical scripture affect them in any way? And he found that there was common denominators in, just about all of his schizophrenic patients. And let me clarify, schizophrenic is a blanket term. There are different types of schizophrenia. I can't remember them all off the top of my head, and I didn't write them down here in my notes. But the most common is paranoid schizophrenia, which is, the most common variety of schizophrenia. It's where, you have the voices in your head that, which I thought was strange because, when I thought of schizophrenics with voices, I always thought, how the TV shows you how it's a separate voice from their own, but no, these are actually in their voice. So they are categorized by characteristics that is not normally your own. Like, like I said earlier about, the, road rage, I guess you could call with me. There's been plenty of other times that, I'm sure y'all have had it where you just had this thought in your head. It sounds like you, but it's just something that you would not ever think about or ever say. But these people have it 24/7, 365. And what I think is due to either trauma, abuse, or, like Dr. Merzinski says, meth is the biggest doorway to schizophrenia as far as drug use. But I think that what happens is when, the trauma occurs or the drug use, that you lower your vibrations in a way that they are able to attach onto you. And some people, like I said, it's affected all of us at one point or another, and, not everybody's been through trauma. But what I think the trauma or the drug use does is it opens up a doorway and allows them to actually attach themselves to you. And he's kind of come to the same conclusion. And, these entities are nothing but conscious electrical energy that have to feed. And, since thoughts are nothing more than energetic impulses sent to our brain, some people are able to be hijacked, and these entities are able to project their thoughts into yours, which I think is diabolical, especially when, they use your own voice. Think of the cartoon Monsters, Inc. You got these monsters who come and scare kids and feed on or bottle up their fear and use their fear for electricity and energy. Well, these entities are pretty much the same way, except they don't feed on just fear necessarily. Pretty much any kind of negative emotion that they can cause will generate negative electrical impulses, and that's what they feed on. These entities, I believe, are from when God destroyed the earth with the flood. These entities have nowhere to go. The book of Enoch tells us that the reason that God flooded the earth was because the fallen ones and their offspring had corrupted mankind so much. And when I say corrupted, they were combining men with animals and plants with animals and men with plants, and it was just a mess. And so I think these are the entities left over from that time. They are looking for a physical body. Some are able to possess and experience the physical, but they still have to feed. And the mental health institution will have you to believe that most mental health issues are from chemical imbalances, but there has never been a study for an individual's baseline of chemicals and how their brain is supposed to react to that. I mean, I myself have been through, when I was younger, I was diagnosed with manic depressive psychosis, which today is called bipolar, and severe mood disorder. And, they tried to put me on all these different kind of medications, which I could not stand the side effects for. And, let's go into the bipolar people. Here's what I think. I do not believe it's a chemical imbalance. I believe that some people are more in tune with the natural ebb and flow of the energetical forces of the earth. There is like a energetic heartbeat of the earth, and it comes in cycles. And then there are other longer cycles that come around, every few months. And in my research and with also myself, I've noticed that the bipolar seems to come in cycles. So I have no data to prove this, but this is just out of personal experience and years of sitting back and observing and trying to, fix myself without the help of the medical institution. I believe that, bipolar people are just sensitive to the ebbs and flows of the natural energetic cycles of Earth. And then you may say, well, what causes some bipolar people to become mean? And well, here's what I think. When your own vibrations are disrupted by the cycles of the earth, that also can open up influences. For instance, like when people are in their manic state, which is their high end of the manic depressive or bipolar, they just have extra energy, and some, not all, but most, end up doing things that they normally would not do, or say things that they normally would not do, and a lot of it is seeking pleasure. All right? And I do believe at those times that you have influences helping you along with that. All right, and on the opposite end, when you are extremely down and depressed, you beat yourself up. I mean, you're pretty cruel to yourself. The things that you think, how you're no good, you're worth nothing. People in your life would be better off without you. I don't think that comes from you. I think that is also the entities influencing you to be in a negative state so they can feed. And I think this is brought on by the disruption in your own energetic field, because you are in tune to the natural ebbs and flows of the Earth's energetic energies. All right, let's go on to the mood disorder. I think I was misdiagnosed, with my diagnosis, because, like I said, they just wanted to put me on medications. The quote unquote psychiatrist that talked to me, a 5-minute conversation. It was so impersonal, and I just hear this a lot. All they want to do is help fuel that $235 billion industry in psychiatric medication. So, I believe people who's been diagnosed with mood disorder are probably just really empathic people. Now, let me explain what an empath is. Empaths are people who can, in one way or some degree or another, feel other people's emotions and sometimes mental states. I myself am an empath, and which is something I've only really shared with my wife, so this is kind of big for me. But for years I didn't know what an empath was till I was 30-something years old. So from the time I was 15, when I was diagnosed with this stuff, to I was 30-something years old, I just really thought my brain was broken. I knew it wasn't normal to go one day feeling the whole gamut of human emotion. And seriously, like, if I get around people, like, I will end up going, I will feel everything that's going on around me, and sometimes that can be overwhelming. And again, all they want to do is put you on medication, fuel that $235 billion industry. We're all surrounded by these entities, and they're just waiting for the right vibration to pop up so that they can attach themselves and feed off of you. They are parasites. It's just like I'm going to make another movie reference, Venom. Venom is a parasite that feeds off Eddie Brock. Nobody can hear Venom but Eddie, and Venom talks Eddie into doing things that Eddie normally wouldn't do. So it's the perfect analogy for what these entities do, except for the fact that you can't talk them into fighting bad guys, and because they are negativity. Well, guys, I hope I made a little bit of sense. I know I'm not the most articulate person. I didn't script this one out. I just kind of went off the fly. So, give me some feedback in the comments. Let me know what you guys think. Am I just stretching here? Am I wrong? Please tell me. I mean, maybe we could get a conversation going. That's what I like to do. I like to hear all sides of everything, Whether I come to find out that I'm completely wrong, at least I know the truth. Well, guys, this has been Jeremy with I Want to Know More. Like, share, subscribe, and may Father bless you all, and I love you. Thanks for stopping by.